What's up, everybody? This is the newest episode of the 1796 Sports Podcast. This will be our Kentucky recap. Tennessee got the win in Lexington, of course, never doubted it. And we got a special guest on the pod today. We have AstroSmokey. You've seen his work all over Vol Twitter. All right, guys, what do y'all think? We'll let Astro. What do you think about that game, man?
Oh, making me lead off. I don't like that. I'm just happy we won. Like, it was one of those games where in the third quarter, I, with a lot of other people, were starting to have some serious doubts. You like the ugly wins. I hate that it ended the way it did, even though it's, karma big time. I don't like seeing a good game end the way it did, but probably was iced out at that point anyways. I mean, they were going to have just a few seconds at best. So, glad we won the game. Joe Milton didn't look bad. I am sick of the timeline complaining about us running the ball because that is our identity. That is who we are. But that's about all I got to say. I'm glad we won the game. It was ugly, but we did it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, what did you think? What jumped out to you?
Yeah, I think it's nice to finally see the Vols find a way to win on the road this year. I mean, scratching, clawing, doing whatever they had to do to win this game. I mean, it was frustrating as shit at times. I mean, no doubt about it. And there's still there's a lot of things I'm sure we'll get into, but it's just nice to see them finally pull out a road win. And we got one more road game left, so hopefully they can get that W2, and they finally learned how to win on the road this year.
Yeah, it was like it was kind of like the anti-Florida game, honestly, where we're on the road and it seems like we just keep finding ways to mess shit up. And this game, it was like, there was a lot of frustrating things that happened, but we kept finding ways to stay ahead. It was like at one point Kentucky was about to kick a field goal and they would have had their first lead of the game, and he pushed it a little bit to the right. And it was just like we got a lot of lucky. Now, I don't want to say lucky. I mean, we always beat Kentucky, but a lot of things went our way tonight, and that was nice to see on the road especially.
Yeah, I mean, we did have some, missed calls again, but, like you said, we pulled it out. It could have been a lot worse. I think a lot of things still need to be cleaned up, especially, and that's going to have to come in this next week. I mean, gain the confidence, run up the score on UConn. You got to do something to keep these boys motivated, because that following week going into Missouri is the biggest game of the year. We can't even think about Georgia until that game's over. So these boys need to heal up, get ready for this next week. They played well today. Dylan Sampson is a dog and needs to be on the field a lot more. He definitely, I would say, I won't say single-handedly, but he saved the game at the end.
Yeah, towards the end, he kind of did it single-handedly. He put it on his back a little bit. NVF, though, I wanted to say, and I feel like, this is going to be one of your main points later, but Joe Milton had a pretty much perfect game. I mean, given what he was, obviously I would have liked to see a little bit more. But, I mean, he hit a couple deep shots. He only had 3 incompletions. And, I mean, I like we talked about last week, when the running game works, this type of performance, like a game manager performance like tonight, is all you really need.
No, you're right. I wouldn't say he had a perfect performance, but I've said this multiple times before. Joe Milton is just so frustrating to me because, and I tweeted it in the game. And I'm sorry I'm like kind of breaking up here, but it's Joe Milton has an arm. We all know that. He was accurate tonight. I mean, on the run was passing real well, all that. Kentucky was loading the box, daring him to throw. They couldn't stop the run, I get it. But I think, and I posted a tweet about it, if you're not going to throw the ball down the middle with Joe, and I get the run game is our identity, but you have to be able to throw the ball down the middle. And if you don't trust him to do that, it's games like Missouri are going to be hard to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think you had a tweet talking about that. Like, what's the point of playing Milton? Like you just said, what's the point of playing Milton if you don't trust him to throw the ball? It just feels like a lot of times, and don't hear what I'm not saying. Like Joe Milton has missed tons of throws this year. He's not been what we've expected at all. But I do think some of that is the way that he's being used. I mean, I think both of you have pointed it out before. It just seems so obvious Heupel does not trust him to throw the ball. I mean, our red zone offense is painful to watch.
It's bad, man. It's real bad.
Yeah, I would go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I think the biggest mistrust you saw from the coaching staff of Milton tonight was you right before halftime with 7 seconds left, you don't even try to throw into the end zone. Like it's fine to secure 3 there, but that was telltale sign that they do not trust him at all. Go ahead, Astro.
Okay, sorry, had to come off mute there. I would say that, and this is probably a very different take from what you guys have. I would say Joe, based on his game film tonight, probably improved his draft stock for the coming spring. He made some throws that were huge, and he made some throws on the run, keeping his eyes downfield across his body that's going to get NFL scouts going. Devin Leary looked really good tonight too, obviously. But I don't think I don't know for sure, but I don't necessarily believe that they didn't trust him there before half. I think that they realized how close this game was going to be, knew it was going to be back and forth because every game has been close for us this year, back and forth. And I think Heupel, more than anything, has just learned his lesson about taking the points and not screwing up the points. Because there's a sequence against Florida right before half where we were trying to go down and score. Joe Milton threw one of the dumbest passes I've seen from a Tennessee player since probably JG, where he nuked the ball into the stratosphere and then somebody intercepted it. And it really, more than anything that had happened at that point, swung the game against us. So I think he just has the mindset of take the points and keep it moving. So,
yeah.
Which is understandable. I mean, especially in a game like this when you know it's probably going to be tight. So made sense. And I actually don't completely disagree with you, Astro, about Joe Milton's draft stock. I mean, I think that in the right system, I mean, I could see it.
Well,
JG got on an NFL team for a little while,
Yeah.
so I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you look at like comparable guys, and it's really going to depend on who needs what come spring more than anything. But Anthony Richardson and Joe Milton, like they're 2 very different guys, but they're also incredibly similar in the fact about their arm strength and a little bit of mobility for Milton, more so for Richardson. And he's going to end up, he gets picked up by the Colts pretty early. So I don't think that Milton's going to end up a first-round draft pick. It's like I said, it will depend on who needs what come spring. But the tape that he put out tonight is going to help a lot because, again, these managers have massive egos, and they think they can fix any problem. So,
he's definitely got all the physical. I mean, he's built like the prototypical quarterback. Like, I mean, he's got the build that you'd want, which is why we've all been frustrated that he just hasn't decided to run until last week. So, that's kind of, which by the way, I love the fact that he's running now. I don't know what like finally clicked for him that he realizes like, hey, I'm actually kind of badass when I run. But I mean, because he's kind of like Derrick Henry. Like people don't really want to tackle him, and he doesn't. I mean, he did do a really stupid slide where he could have had easily the first down, and he slid like right at the first down line. But he's not afraid of contact, which I like that. I mean, I think it just adds an entirely new element to our offense when he's not afraid to do that.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, man. We iced the game with a Joe Milton run.
Yes.
That's incredible. That was the most hyped I've been about Joe Milton this whole season.
Yeah. I mean, that was very like 2 weeks ago, he wouldn't have done that.
I don't think that they would have called it 2 weeks ago either.
Yeah.
Like that was the biggest positive from Joe Milton tonight was him finding the fire in the belly to get that first down.
Well, and he's really like, in my opinion, and NVF has kind of been on this wagon for a while. he's easy to root for. Like he really is. Like you can tell he cares. Like it's never been a question. Like is he lazy or does he just?
He's loyal. He wants to win.
Dude, yeah, absolutely. Like Bama fans were making fun of him last week because he was like shooting arrows at them before the game. That shit's hilarious. Like you want your quarterback. You want your quarterback to do shit like that. Like he cares. Like it obviously bothers him when he's playing like shit. And he has had a fire. He hasn't gotten down. I saw him. He was laughing and stuff on the sideline, like getting his guys pumped up tonight. Like a lot of times, it would be very easy for him. I feel like to be very negative right now, but he hasn't. Like I'm sure he's heard the chatter all season, and he's just kept playing, and that's really respectable.
Well, it's the same thing, and me and Asher were talking before we even started this. Kamal Haddon did the same thing. I mean, all the hate he was getting, people. I mean, we as a fan base booed the guy during the starting lineups one game, and the kid came out and he's been balling out. Of course, he had an unfortunate season-ending injury, but Astro said it perfectly before this. I mean, he showed out. He left a great taste in our mouth about him, and no one could say anything about him anymore. I mean, Astro, another good point. If he got hurt at the Florida game, oh my God, this kid would never return to Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of players who have, caught some shit and stuck around and performed, shout out Dante Thornton. I mean, he's alive. He's got a pulse.
Yes, I know. I was shocked. And a couple big plays, man. I mean, his first catch was what, a 20-yard, nice little screen pass, but he caught it, and he got a couple yards with it. I mean, I was shocked he was in the game, to be honest.
Dude, I know. He was our leading receiver. It's 3 catches, 63 yards. I mean, it's something. Hopefully it's a launching pad for the rest of the season for him because we need him.
Looked real good in the open field too. He was making people miss. It's very impressive.
And holding onto the ball. That was like my biggest concern with him was when he caught it, it felt like he was being lazy holding that ball. But once he cut to the sideline, he switched hands and made sure that ball did not come out.
Did all of you realize that we didn't have one drop tonight? It's like everybody brought their gloves up to Lexington. Like that, I think that might be the first game all year we haven't had one drop. So that's definitely a good sign, good going forward.
Well, and notice, nobody dropped the ball, and it was Milton's best game. So we've kind of gone back and forth on whose fault is it? Does Milton suck or do our receivers suck? And obviously the answer is somewhere in the middle. Like, Joe Milton's bad numbers were not all his fault. The receivers were dropping passes all season. I mean, Dante Thornton was a ghost before tonight, but it seems like it's kind of gelling at the perfect time. I mean, it would have been nice to beat Florida, obviously. It would have been nice to have some more plays against Alabama, but at this point, I mean, you can't really be mad. I mean, you're sitting at 6-2. I mean,
you're about to be 7-2. You should blow out UConn, and you have the momentum going into home games. Like I said before, Missouri is the game of the year. They need to focus up, beat UConn. The minute the UConn game hits 0, it's time to lock in.
Well, and a quick point I want to make here. I was looking at the schedule. Missouri has to deal with Georgia next week. That's going to be their, for the lack of a better term, South Carolina fans, that's going to be their Super Bowl. And that's going to be a huge game, a lot of emotion. We effectively get a bye before them. So we're really going to have 2 weeks to prepare for Missouri, within reason. So I think that's a big advantage for us going to an away game against them.
I like that. That's a good point.
What did you guys think, though? I thought it was a little surprising that Georgia so easily handled Florida today. I mean, without their best player, I'm
not surprised.
I'm not either because Florida is really bad, and I'm really sorry to say that. We lost to another really bad Florida team. I had a Kentucky fan in my DMs earlier crying about the game, and I was like, "Hey, man, you feel bad? Like this is like the 4th or 5th time in recent memory that you guys beat Florida. Florida beat us, and we handled you easily. So it's a fact of life for some reason."
Hey, I just want to. I was just gonna throw this in there. North Carolina just lost to Georgia Tech.
I was just about to say that.
No way.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Georgia Tech knows how to pull off an upset, son.
But anyway, yeah, back to the Kentucky game, dude. They showed up the whole game. Yes, I think we have to clean up some stuff with the secondary. I don't think, and I think Astro, didn't you post this about how it's not about Kamal at this point? This is like the secondary was abysmal this whole game.
Well, we're missing Kamal really bad. I said that. I don't think I tweeted about it, but we definitely miss him. But it looked like we ran a lot of zone tonight. I couldn't see all the plays, and when they were picking us apart, we were sitting in zone, which I don't know. I would think that we would try to make a change, but especially the way he was throwing the ball. I mean, Leary looked really good tonight too. I don't think the fan base realizes, I know he had good stats, and I'm sure that's an obvious thing, but some of the throws this kid was making were fantastic. He was better than Will Levis has ever been against Tennessee with some of the passes he was making.
Yeah. Cleaning the pocket. He was finding everyone that was open. I mean.
Yeah. And you got to give Cohen credit. Their offensive coordinator is a magician. The dude comes back, and instantly they're more effective against us on offense. Last year they got, embarrassed. I would like to talk about the catch on the sideline, or the lack thereof catch on the sideline.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that?
I think they talked about it on the broadcast. I think they were exactly right. I don't think it was a catch, but with the way the rules are, they didn't have enough to turn it around. Now, also, before the catch even happened, I want to talk about that. I mean, the ball was out, we're running a play, and you just blow the whistle after the fact. That is not how it works. That is, once the play is going, you cannot review it. I don't care if it's a booth review or not.
Well, especially that late in the play. I've seen pretty late whistles where the ball's been snapped and everything, but we hit the line of scrimmage with our running back with the ball before the whistle got.
We got 5 yards. Got 5 yards, and then they were just like, nope.
The play was damn near over. That was incredible.
Well, it was because I don't know if Stoops was on the sideline bitching to one of the refs. So
Which should have been.
Yeah, I mean, you know what though? I don't really feel bad about it because how many holding calls were missed tonight? I mean,
not at all. Yeah, I don't feel bad at all. That's what I said to them in one of their tweets. Is don't make me pull up the holding calls that have led to touchdowns for you guys, because there's a bunch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, and we have good friends that are Kentucky fans, and we're in a group chat with them. I'm not calling them out or anything. It's just, they were complaining about calls not going their way too. But I mean, Tennessee had almost 80 yards of penalty yardage given up. I don't even want to hear the fact of them not getting calls.
Yeah, I don't know. You hate to be this type of guy, but it seems pretty obvious at this point. We don't get any of the 50-50 calls. I mean, other than that catch, which I think we can all admit probably wasn't a catch, and
it only led to 3 points. So
right, our penalties are so infuriating, though. I mean, they mentioned it on the broadcast multiple times. Tennessee and Kentucky both just kill themselves with penalties every week.
Yeah, it's a lot of just. I don't understand how Elijah Herring claps his damn hands 2 weeks in a row and gets the leg.
It's got to be taken care of. I don't know. I know they probably tried. I mean, they told them beforehand, but now it's got to be taken care of. I get what he's trying to do to get the attention. I get, there's a loud crowd and stuff, but you got to find another way. You got to.
Yeah,
I mean,
scream, slap the lineman on the ass. Just don't clap it. It's a rule. Damn.
Because then he got 2 penalty calls during the Bama game.
Yeah, just It's just simple stuff like that, and then of course, the false starts and the holding that knocks us back in the red zone or kills the drive before it even starts. It's just a lot of stuff that we need to clean up desperately.
Yeah, but we talked about it this past, during the preview pod. And Ryan, I know you're going to really enjoy this one. I want to know when we see Nico this week coming up.
Well, I guess it'll depend on how we play with our starters. I mean, I don't.
But do you wait for that though? I feel like it should be like, hey Joe, go score 2 touchdowns and that's it. Like keep him healthy and fresh for the Missouri game.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it and I wrote about it. The Joe Milton stacking 2 games on top of each other is a good sign, and I think the coaching staff, for as much as they don't trust him, I think they feel like he's the best option at this point. But I would say Nico probably gets the game first drive of the third quarter. That's my answer.
I feel that.
I don't think so. I think it'll be a fourth quarter situation again, and we're going to hear a lot of complaining about it on Twitter. That's what I think is going to end up happening.
It's just so frustrating to not see him get many meaningful reps this whole season.
Well, I at this point, I mean, they got to be thinking red shirt. I know he doesn't need it, and he's a talented guy. He's a 5-star, the number 1 quarterback, in the recruiting class that year. But I don't think he's even going to be here to where a red shirt would even matter.
Well, probably not. But it's good for him if he can get it. On the off chance that something terrible happens, and heaven forbid, I don't even want to speak that, but every year of eligibility you don't have to burn is a good thing.
But hey, run defense, what a game, man! Just the fact that Ray Davis was non-existent he scored a touchdown, but for the whole game he was non-existent, and I thought that was a huge fact of that. Our defense definitely can stop the run.
Yeah, I mean, and his one touchdown was one of the blatant holding penalties they didn't call. So but if you told me Ray Davis in this game with, what was it, like 40 something rushing yards, I would say Tennessee won by 3 touchdowns. Like it's pretty obvious that that's mainly what the defense was focused on during the week, which is maybe why we got carved up by Devin Leary. So, but yeah, it was impressive to see them just completely nullify Ray Davis.
Yeah, talk about Devin Leary though. I mean, like Astro said, he played a phenomenal game, and we all know as Vol fans that it always happens. The guy plays bad all year and just decides to have a Heisman moment against Tennessee. But and I'm not throwing any hate at him either. He was frustrating me. Like he was just throwing the ball all over us, and we couldn't get to him. So I mean, their offensive line did hold this a little bit, yes, but I do have to give them credit. I mean, Tennessee had 1 sack all game, so it's a big day for the O-line for Kentucky.
It's not like we weren't trying to get pressure on him either. We were bringing 5 and 6 at some times, and he was still able to get the ball off.
Oh yeah,
I think that's. I mean, if anything, I think that's really impressive that we were able to win the game with getting 1 sack. Like,
right.
That's so much of our success this season has been because we're getting to the quarterback. Like Pierce is just having great games, and Beasley's having a great game, and it's like, well, they didn't even really. I mean, they obviously always affect the game in one way or another, but 1 sack all night, like, that's wild. You would think that, that would have ended worse for us. So it was cool to see, we're able to come out on top even with our defense not playing the best. I wanted to say though, so Astro, NVF, and Ryan, are y'all most concerned? What are y'all concerned about from this game? Because, you look at the Missouri game in a couple weeks, and they've got probably, we've talked about it before, but probably the best group of receivers in the SEC all around. And I'm terrified right now. If our secondary plays like they played tonight, that's not going to go well.
Astro, go ahead. I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, me and Normal talked about this before you guys hopped in here. And like I told him, and this is an obvious thing, everyone knows this, but it really rings true for this team. If we win the line of scrimmage, we win the game. If we can run the ball on our opponent, and I know that's a very basic level thing, but the two teams that have dominated us at the line of scrimmage is Florida, which I thought they would do, and Alabama, which I also was confident they would do. That's the problem that Missouri might run into, is you can throw the ball as much as you want to. If you can't run the ball as well, it's going to be a problem when the game comes down to it, especially when we can run the ball as well as we do. So it's going to depend on their defensive line and our defensive line, and then obviously the offensive lines respectively. But that's what's going to matter for that game.
Yeah. It drives me crazy to watch our defense drop in zone. Like, I see no point in running the zone defense with the way our secondary stands right now.
I mean, we don't have the personnel for zone.
I mean, zone is very complex. You need good personnel. You need personnel that fits it. I don't think we have it. Press man is pretty simple. You glue yourself to the receiver's asshole. Like, you just stay on them. And I just want to mention somebody on the defense that he's been here for a while now, and I might have to put him on fraud watch.
I don't know who this is going to.
When's the last time Aaron Beasley made a play?
I mean, he did make a couple plays this game, but not like the plays that you're talking about. I know he hasn't made the oh shit moment, Aaron Beasley, like the Orange Bowl, but he has been solid all year.
If we're talking about his pass coverage, I don't think anyone's ever accused him of being good in pass coverage.
Yeah.
However, his run fits are usually really fantastic. But you know, I didn't see he didn't pop off the screen tonight. But Kentucky has a massive offensive line.
Yeah.
So I mean, credit to them. They can run the ball. They just didn't tonight. But yeah, you are right. He hasn't popped off the screen in a while. Hopefully, though, that is a sign that it's about to happen soon, and preferably not next week, but the week after.
Yeah, I just it's been a while since he's made a play like getting a big sack or getting a big hit like we saw earlier in the season. So I just hope that he hasn't fallen off a cliff or anything. I don't think he has. I'm not really accusing him of that, but
I could be wrong, but I think he still comfortably leads the team in tackles. Could be wrong about that, but you know, it's one of those things. They may not be blitzing him as much. I don't really look for it, so I don't know. I feel like he's been in pass coverage a lot, which he gets exposed a lot in pass coverage. So that is definitely his weakness.
Yeah,
I think it's go ahead.
It was very noticeable tonight, which is probably why I even have him in my mind. And then him getting that, it was ticky-tack, but that silly personal foul after their missed field goal didn't come back to bite us. But I just want to see more from Aaron Beasley because I expect more from him. I think that's what it comes down to.
Like I said, I think he's been solid all year. Yeah, but I agree. He hasn't had the oh wow moments, as much. But I mean, I think he's been a great starting linebacker, and I don't know what Peely's status is, but I think if this defense had Peely too, oh my god, like this, we would have a scary defense.
Yeah, I think that really, really hurt tonight. Danico Slaughter's not a starting corner. I'm sorry. Like, he's just not. He does not need to be starting at corner, at least. I mean, maybe safety, but I know there's not many options at this point. But
and Turnage didn't play well either. But like, I don't blame them. I think it's the coach. The fact that none of them turn around.
No,
none of them.
Exactly.
Like that, and that's an issue. I don't understand what he's teaching, but no corner in the NFL is not turning around to look at the ball. Yes, you have the occasional plays where you might not get to turn around, but like it's hardly ever. And when Kamal Haddon did that one time, he had that pick, and it's like, why aren't we doing this all the time?
I think at this point, I mean, in my opinion, I think that Kamal Haddon just does his own thing because he's the only corner we have that's a ball hawk, even somewhat. And he doesn't, like you said, he doesn't even do it that often. But none of the corners ever turn around. And they made a point in the broadcast, like if you don't turn your head, or if you don't know where the ball is, they're not gonna call anything. Like it just looks like a lot of the times the fundamental isn't really there. I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like it's obvious that Willie Martinez is not emphasizing getting your head turned around, which I don't know. I'm not a coach, but it seems like that would be, something to think about. Maybe turn your head around and see if you can't get an interception. Because a lot of the throws, as good as Larry played and as much as the receivers, made Moss star corners, like if they just turn around, they have a better chance of breaking that pass up or even intercepting it. So I don't know. I mean, it's just frustrating to watch them just stare at the receiver's chest. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, there was, like I said at the beginning here, plenty of stuff we got to clean up. Like Astro said, we're going into pretty much a bye week. We need to keep everybody healthy. We need to clean up the little things during this game, and we can't take them lightly. You can't. You got to win this game. We'll move on to 7-2, hopefully. And like I said, big week after that, but you cannot just skip over UConn. You got to just go beat them up, get out of there, get out of Neyland with the win, and you got one road game left. And like I said to Astro before this even started, if you beat Missouri, Neyland Stadium that following week is going to be a madhouse.
Yes, as long as Lane Kiffin does us a favor. So, which it could happen. It very well could happen.
Are you talking about
Ole Miss is probably their best chance at a loss before us.
Well, we don't. I mean, realistically, being that they beat Florida today, if they lose to us, aren't we in?
Well, since we already have 2 SEC losses, so in order for us to get the tiebreaker over them, they would also need to have 2 SEC losses.
Yeah. Well, where's Ole Miss? Is it home or away?
It's in Athens.
Oh yeah, I don't see it.
Oof.
Ole Miss on the road is just not it this year.
Yeah. Well, just do us a favor for once, Lane Kiffin, please.
NBF, you mentioned, earlier about when do you think we're going to see Nico? Now, other than all of us just wanting to see Nico just out of curiosity and just to see what it would look like, I do think it's pretty important to get that second unit in pretty quickly. I mean, for the reason that you just said, everybody needs to be healthy for the stretch run. So, yes, I want to see Nico just anyway, but I think especially in this game against UConn, like if this turns into a slugfest or if this turns into a game where like it turns into a game and it's, Joe and the starters are having to play into the fourth quarter, I mean, that's got to be looked at as an abject failure. I mean, we need everybody rested up. It would be nice if they could get the second half off.
Wait, so I'm, and I don't mean to like change the subject here because I kind of just looked at Georgia's schedule, but if Missouri beats them next week, am I wrong? Because if they if they lose to Missouri and we beat Missouri, doesn't Missouri have an SEC loss already? I'm pretty sure I think I'm right here.
Yeah, Missouri lost to LSU.
Right, so I at that point you'd win the tiebreaker. You just have, we have 2 chances.
Yeah, Ryan was just saying like if
that's our best option.
Yeah, if Georgia gets to the point where like we beat them, but that's their only loss, and then it still doesn't matter because we still have one more loss than they do.
I got you. I could see them though. I don't see them losing both games, obviously, because they're both in Athens.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna be honest. I think the better chance of them losing is against Missouri.
Yeah, probably just because it's on the road. right? That is on the
No,
road. Yeah.
I think they're both in Athens, Bryce.
Yeah, they are. They're in Athens 2 more times, and then they're on the road against us after those 2.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing for us. So they're coming off 2 really tough physical games.
They might still not have Bowers back either. So
He won't. There's no way he. I just don't see him risking his NFL career over a game, like one college game.
He's already won 2 natties down there, and
yeah, you heal up and you're in the draft this year. I don't risk it.
Yeah, and even if he did play, he'd be like, I don't know, probably not even 70%. So
well, if everything works out and they went out and they're 12-0, you could. I mean, he's gonna probably win another natty this year if they do that, and he might not even have to play to get it. So
yeah.
So what did you agree with the UConn analysis pretty much, NVF? I know we'll get into it later, but I just think we need to have our guys get some rest before.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think like I said before, what should happen, our defense is a lot better than it was, week 2 against Austin Peay. Okay. You need to go in there, you shut them down the first quarter. You score a couple touchdowns. Hopefully, I mean, the way the offense looked tonight, you could score 3 touchdowns in the first quarter and wrap it up, get them out of the game, and let these guys just play the rest of the game. Because even if Nico plays against UConn, he could still redshirt. So
yeah.
I think, what is it? I'm pretty sure it's 4 games, and you could redshirt.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's only played in Virginia and
UTSA.
UTSA, yeah. So, and if you're going to redshirt him, and he could still play Vanderbilt at that point because that'll be his 4th game. So I think that's the way to go. You got to keep Joe healthy. You got to keep the O-line healthy, and this is the game to do it. This, like Astro said, this is pretty much a bye week, but you can't go into it lightly. But it's pretty much a bye week, and we got to take advantage of it.
We don't want the players to treat it like that. We don't want the players to think of that.
Well, right. Well, no, I mean, the players, especially seeing their emotions after this win today, you need to continue that momentum and be ready to go into Missouri and win the game. Now, the one thing we got going for us, and I get it, all credit to Missouri, they're playing really well this year, but Josh Heupel has owned Drinkowitz this year. And we'll get into it for our preview pod, but we'll see. With the Nico analysis and the UConn analysis, yes, I think you need to put full steam ahead in that first quarter and get your starters some rest and prepare for the next week.
Absolutely. I want to talk about I think the way Josh Heupel has kind of figured out in the last 2 weeks how to utilize Milton, to the best of his ability is pretty impressive. You still can't score in the red zone because you don't trust him to throw and all that. But, I mean, you're running him now. He's throwing on the run. He's, he only had 3 incompletions tonight. I mean, what Heupel has done, which I really think this is completely different than anything that we did last year, the offense that we're seeing right now. And we're still finding a way to win games. So I think that's pretty impressive. I mean, and he better do that if he's sticking with him, which he obviously is. So I'll give Heupel some credit for how Joe Milton has played in the last 2 games.
Well, and Bryce, you said it perfectly. I think what created this Joe Milton we're seeing the past 2 weeks is obviously the run game. The guy's playing really well when he uses his legs, because then it makes the field a little bit more open when the linebackers have to worry about you running the ball. And Ryan said it perfectly too. No one wants to tackle this guy. I mean, he's a beast of a man, and it helps out this offense.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it helps Joe. I think it helps his confidence. I mean, when you can get these positive plays that kind of just rely on you, and you don't have to hope the receiver gets open and catches the ball. Like these little runs that he does where he gets positive yards, he gets pumped up when he trucks somebody. Like it's just, and like you said, it's just another thing that the defenses have to game plan for. I mean, there's no downside to it.
Yeah. I just want to give Heupel kudos for that, because I was getting weary of how he was trying to use Joe Milton, but I think he's figured out something that at least gets us somewhat effective on offense.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit, though, by the way, I was complaining about the play calling, and I understand and Astro said it, and I think he was talking about me, but I could be wrong. I was complaining about the play calling coming out of the half. I think that was, you needed to score. I mean, we won. I am complaining, though.
Yeah.
You come out of half with the ball, with the lead, and you run 2 runs up the middle, get stuffed on both, and then you run a quarterback draw up the middle. What, like, who, I don't know if it's Halsey, I don't know if it's Heupel, but I'm calling better plays on Madden. That's all I'm saying.
It goes back to what we've been saying, though, is like he just doesn't trust Joe to do things sometimes. It's weird because sometimes he does. Like sometimes it seems like, okay, yeah, like we're opening it up a little bit. And then other times it's just the most conservative shit you've ever seen. Like, I don't get it. It is a little strange. I don't know. I don't think it's Halsey either, because I'm pretty sure Heupel calls every play. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean the shovel passes on third down and the draws and the quick screens on third and longs. I mean, that just shows you he doesn't trust him to throw into tight windows on a third down. But
he did. I mean, he actually hit the throws tonight. I mean,
yeah,
the throw to Nimrod was beautiful. Like, he did what he needed to do tonight. So I don't know. Maybe going forward, he'll trust him a little bit more. Who knows?
Yeah. But the one throw he did throw over the middle was that little angle route to Dylan Sampson on that 3rd and 10 on the touchdown drive in the 4th quarter. I mean, find plays like that where it's simple. Like you have to have something going over the middle in order to probably beat Missouri and beat Georgia. So
now listen, I do want to bring it up. I don't know if we talked about it already, but it deserves a second talk if we have. God, Joe Milton on the run today, throwing the ball. Oh my God! Like just finding the open guy. He was either gonna run it or he finally found the little open guys at the end. Just toss him the ball. Oh my God! Our wide receivers caught the ball. They turned around. They made good decisions. They went out of bounds when they had to. I was like, oh my God. Now, don't get me wrong. I was going crazy this whole game. I think Kentucky they could have won this game easily. And, oh man, like Dylan Sampson, I know you're probably never going to hear this. Hopefully you do, but you're the GOAT. You are a dog of a man. You bully everybody, and we love you. But, okay, next topic.
Yeah. Dylan Sampson, like you just said, I'll be the first to admit I was watching the game with my dad, and on that drive when it was 26-24 and we needed something to happen, and they stuck with Sampson, I was like, I would rather have Jalen Wright in the game. But then Dylan Sampson shut my ass up, because that drive was basically all Dylan Sampson. So
that final drive was insane, and it kind of goes back to my point. I don't want to be too negative. I mean, it's a win, but Jabari Small's carries, just give him to Sampson, please. Like,
now, no hate to Jabari. I think he ran the ball pretty well today, but God, I do not want Sampson going anywhere. Like this guy, I'm just saying, if you put Sampson on Alabama or Georgia, boy oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
150 plus yards a game.
Any of the three of them would start at like 100 of the 133 FBS schools at least.
Oh yeah, Jabari would start somewhere too. I think all three of them could start at every SEC school, every school in the country right now.
It's a good problem to have, but it's still a thing. guys want to get theirs, and that is something I worry about. I mean, is he gonna?
He's not. He's not. I think he has seen. You got to think about the next year when we lose some guys. I think Dylan Sampson's going to turn into a pleasure to have, and we're getting beasts of running backs coming in. Peyton Lewis is no joke. You still got Khalifa Keith. That he isn't playing, but you got Cam Seldon. I mean, these guys are going to be good for a while, and as long as we bring in the quarterbacks to help out this team, we got the wide receivers coming in. You got Mike Matthews. You got Braylon Staley. Boy, oh boy, the next couple of years are going to be a fun time for the Tennessee Vols if we could, keep these recruits in.
Yeah, I mean, I think for as much as receivers, whether it be transfers or recruits, look at the offense and say, wow, I can really put up some numbers in this system. The running backs have to be thinking the same thing. Like, this offense is built to gash the defense in the run game with the wide splits and everything. Like, the running backs can have just as good as numbers as the receivers do. Like, we ran for 250 yards tonight on what was the second best run defense in the SEC coming into this game. Like,
I mean, the only game we weren't able to do what we wanted to do is, well, Bama and Florida. Coincidentally, those are the two games that we lost. But
yes,
whenever our game plan is working, I mean, it's almost unstoppable.
Yes, and I want us, like, we scored one touchdown out of the 5 trips we got inside the 20. This game shouldn't even have been close if we execute in the red zone. And
absolutely,
I know that that eats Heupel alive inside, and that's probably what he's maddest about. Besides his defense letting mid-ass Devin Leary put up nearly 400 yards on him. But I just, like, if you score even 2 touchdowns in the red zone out of those 5 instead of just one, you're 41 to 27, and you're not sweating much at the end. And if, most teams do better than 60% in the red zone as far as getting touchdowns. So we need to figure that out quick if we want to make this season into something special.
I just think I think that's a very tough issue to get fixed at this point in the season. I mean, because the reason that teams have a hard time in the red zone is because the field shrinks. There's a lot less, to work with. And I feel like that's especially true for us because we're so reliant on the run game, so reliant on the ground game. So when we get to the red zone, teams just load the box to stop the run, and our passing is not the best. Like, I don't know if we're just not, running the right routes to get open. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like teams just zero in on stopping the ground game when we get down there, and we have no answer for that.
Yeah, I think Heupel, as far as the play calling in the red zone, he's so scared since Milton threw the red zone interception against A&M and the one against South Carolina. I mean, he's just so scared to not come away with points that he just gets hyper conservative. I mean, but that's, you can't just go down there and run an option, quarterback power and a halfback draw and expect to get touchdowns. I mean, just like you said, they're stacking the box. So you just got to get something going in the passing game in the red zone. Like, you have to find something.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I tweeted about it at some point in that game. I was like, do we even want to get to the red zone? Like,
yeah,
it's just, and it's weird. It's like our offensive line decides, and don't get me wrong, they played well when it came to the run, but like they decide not to block for the run, and it's like it becomes non-existent. And if you stop Tennessee in the red zone with the run, it's almost guaranteed field goal.
Yeah, exactly. Not to change the subject, but this is just hilarious. I'm seeing all over Twitter, a lot of Kentucky fans are calling for Stoops to be fired. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, this is their Super Bowl, and they never win it. So,
yeah, Matt Jones is getting a lot of hate right now because he said that he should be fired. Talking about Stoops stuff is nonsense. And a lot of Kentucky fans are pretty pissed about that take. They're wanting blood.
That's so funny. I mean, Normal Volfan, you said it last in the preview episode. Like, why do they think every single year something's going to change?
It's never going to change. So here's the thing with them is right now the way Tennessee is recruiting is if you wait 2 to 3 more years, Kentucky might not ever beat us again. I mean, it's going to get to the point where we're going to be the Georgia to the Kentucky because the recruiting is going to be a lot better, and we're going to be getting in those 5 stars, those highly rated 4 stars, and they're not going to be able to beat us. And that's what we're trying to do to catch up to a Georgia or an Alabama. You know, it takes years to do, and that's what I think is funny is with all these people on, you know, Twitter calling about, oh, this is a failure of a season. Everyone had us going 9-3. Everyone had us losing to Florida. Everyone had us losing to Bama, and everyone had us losing to Georgia. I just don't, you know, and I know I'm changing the subject, but like this team is playing really well. They have a great opportunity to go in, and this season can be something. I mean, we got to hope that Missouri or Ole Miss beats Georgia, which is, you know, highly unlikely. But even if, let's say we go in, we beat UConn, we beat Missouri, and we get to that Georgia game, I don't care what the outcome is going to be. If you go in and you beat Georgia at home, even if you don't get to the SEC championship game, this season is a complete dub.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
you don't need to win. You don't need to win the SEC championship. Yeah, would it be nice? Absolutely, but you don't need to. You at that point, you're going. Let's say what are we? We're 6-2. You would have finished the season 10-2, and wow, the season could be a lot of things right now. It could be a lot worse, and it could be better. But I mean, we are what we are. But a lot of football left to be played, gentlemen. And Georgia is not unbeatable.
No, they're not. And it just kind of goes back to what I said last week about how the thing I love about Heupel is he beats the teams he's supposed to beat. Now, granted, Florida, you know, you can probably kind of consider that a team that we should beat, especially because they suck ass. But still, it's always a tough game playing in the swamp. It's a tough environment. Everybody acknowledges it's a tough environment. But guess what? Kentucky's one of those teams we should always beat, and he did it again. And I can go ahead and guarantee you we're going to destroy Vanderbilt. So, all in all, in a year that I think most rational people expected a slight downgrade from last year, and what really, I mean, can you complain about at this point? I mean, yes, the Florida loss looks worse and worse every week. Okay, I get that. But what team doesn't have a bad loss? I mean,
yeah,
that's my take on it.
To me, if you go 10-2 and you beat Georgia, it would be real hard not to look back in that Florida game and kick yourself. But I mean,
yeah,
it's like I said earlier, I struggle to believe that Josh Heupel was running the same offense he did last year. I think he's completely changed everything about how he runs the offense, centered around him doing what's best for Joe Milton. And I think Heupel really wants Joe Milton to succeed, and that's part of the reason he hasn't benched him. I think he respects Milton for staying, and I think he's finally found something that works, like I explained earlier. And it's just the red zone at this point. I feel really good about the offense between the 20s, but you just got to figure out the red zone. But talking about the bigger picture about the season, yeah, 10-2 would be incredible, but it would kind of be like last year where you blew it against South Carolina.
Right, but hey, you gotta keep this momentum going because trust me, these recruits see it. They see it. They see the crowd. They see the fans. They hear the fans. They see us on Twitter. I mean, Vol fans are all around. Need to just stay positive. It's a long process. if we had the offense from last year, yes, we would be natty contenders, but we don't. And, we'll see moving forward. But I know we're getting on the hour point. I do want to talk about one last thing at least. I really want to talk about this fake injury shit. It's really starting to get on my nerves. And I posted a video on Twitter. If anyone wants to go see it, go look at it. But caught red-handed. I mean, the broadcasters even said for a Grammy, like, that should be an automatic penalty. Sit out the quarter, sit out the drive, whatever you want to make it, but it needs to be fixed. And don't get me wrong, I know Tennessee does it. This, as a whole in college football, it needs to be taken out. Just the fact that it cost them the game at the end, it was karma for them, but still, it needs to be taken care of.
I thought of a solution to this. Let me know if you think there might be a problem with what I'm about to say. But if you are injured or you do this like fake injury bullshit, it doesn't matter if they think it's fake or not. If you go down to injury, you have to sit out the rest of the drive. And I think if you did that, obviously that could have some negative repercussions as well, but you definitely wouldn't have any fake injuries.
No, the only thing that will arise out of that is people toughing out something they probably shouldn't tough out. But I mean, I don't blame teams for still doing it because there's no damn rule to prevent it. And I'm sure it was kind of hilarious. I saw Will Warren tweet about it, who writes about basketball for Tennessee. Good follow for anybody listening to this going into basketball season. But he tweeted how funny it was. Watch the Kentucky coaches wanting that guy who got injured to like drag his corpse off the field, even though he was injured. Like it's the biggest stroke of karma I've ever seen, because it's, even if it was fake or not, like it was just so great to finally see it, ice the game away. But yeah, I definitely agree. Something has to change.
All right, Ryan, any other final thoughts before we get out of here? Another big Tennessee win. Anything else you want to add?
I'm glad that Kentucky fans left early, because we needed that coal power to power this podcast with our phones and laptops. And let's rest up these starters, get them out in the second half in this UConn game, and let's get this mini bye week and get ready to get back on the road and take on Missouri.
Yeah, it's going to be a long shift in the coal mines on Monday.
I'm back, boys.
It's going to be a sad one. Awesome. Well, just in time. NVF, anything you want to say before we get out of here?
No, I said it earlier. The season's up for grabs. I mean, we could have a really good ending to a season. We can get to a really good bowl game if we just keep our heads in the right place. Go take care of UConn. Focus up. It's going to be a tough game at Missouri, but very winnable. But this team, man, their destiny is in their hands, as a lot of people would say it. But man, great win. I love to beat Kentucky at Kentucky. It's nothing better. But no, that's it for me.
Nice.
All right. Well, that was the Kentucky recap episode. We will be back later this week for the UConn preview. It's going to be a real barn burner. We're excited for that game. Ryan and I will be there, so we look forward to this. Oh, awesome. I didn't think you were going to that one.
No, we decided to go.
Hell yeah.
You can't. First of all, you can't talk me out of going to a game. But my wife wants to go, so I mean, I'm not gonna complain, if you know what I mean.
Hell yeah! So the whole 1796 conglomerate will be there, and we're looking. We'll it'll be cool. We'll have to do something. So stay tuned for that. But anyway. Peace out. Vols win again. Go Vols. See y'all later.
Go Vols, baby.